Genie grind and watch him get rich, huh? Remember when I said I hit a lick, huh? I don't really wanna fuck the bitch, what? Willie went and made another hit, okay, like Prada on my motherfucking kid, huh? Louis on my motherfucking hip, huh? Curry how I dunk, no switch, hey, fucker gonna fuck that bitch, hey, if you ain't gon' fuck with me, you a dumb fuck, put up a hit but feel like one punch, look at my bank and I'm getting dumb rich, and I'm gonna count it up till 100,
So, welcome back, everybody. I am What If Study, and today we are doing What If Deku Was TYR, Part 2. TYR arises out from the middle of about 20 wolves, I would say, attacking this boyish-looking figure. You couldn't tell his age anymore. No, he was a man. You could tell. Was this a man? No, a demon. Ripping through the crowd, using a gigantic club that he had made, almost 2 men wide. It was incredible the fact that he could even wield it. However, this whole entire time he had been spending, training his physical body through fights. All of his experience in life was due to Asgard and all the wars that he had to fight through. This was just reteaching his body. You could tell at every single strike he was remembering what fighting was like, what true life or death was about, and it almost excited him. It made him enthralled. However, he swore to be a peacemaker. He couldn't let this curse get to the best of him. He could not turn out like Ares. As he turns towards the masses of all of the wolves, the line that he made through all of them, covering the snow with blood. As he has his back now to the forest, to the edge of the place, with all to the edge of the cliff, all of the monsters gathering around him. He dives down into the icy banks down below, splashing into the water. He goes unconscious for a few minutes until rising back up. He barely. His body basically does it for him, where it swims up and gets him onto the ice. As he picks himself back up, trying to get out from the middle of the ice, as he knows that he won't survive if he's in the middle of this place. He needs to find shelters, find some place to sit. As he makes his way through the tundra, unable to see or feel anything, as he's frostbitten all over his body. He can't even taste anymore. He tries to eat grass, however, that's not even worth eating. It gives him less calories than it takes to actually eat it. He continues on his way, trying to find more and more. However, there is nothing, until he sees a darkness in the snowy tundra. Finally, was this the forest? Could he finally be? As he doesn't care anymore. His eyes are frozen shut as the water inside of them start to freeze. As he hobbles into the entrance of this darkness. As then he starts rolling down and down until he rolls up into a ball, curling inside of his little cape that kept him warm. As he couldn't open his eyes or anything. All he felt was a slight warmth on his back, and fell asleep. I guess if I die, at least maybe I'll have a second chance. As he wakes up, I'm alive? As he opens his eyes very slightly. A cub, a tiny polar bear cub, and a werewolf cub. He could tell from the legs of a human. A monster, but something to be respected in certain power. It reminded him of Fenrir, how he had lost his arm to Fenrir. This time, no, he'll keep it. He sacrificed it for war. Of course it was war. It's always war after war. As he barely picks himself up, as then he reminds himself that he's alive. He rejoices to the gods. However, he brings his excitement back down as he finally is able to open his eyes fully this time. As he tries to pick himself back up, his right hand goes down right next to a paw that's as big as his hand. As he doesn't want to look up. As he slowly looks up, seeing a gigantic wolf, a werewolf to be more specific, as it seems to have fully permanently changed into a wolf. Its massive size almost, quintupled his. He would never be able to even stand up against this thing. Nevertheless, right now, its power and size is too much for him. As it almost speaks, "You're sizing me up. You see me a threat already." I guess people usually think that. Until, I rip out their vocal cords. Or, as he's like, "Or mystical beast?" As it's like, "Mystical beasts. I guess you can define me that way, human. I only sheltered you because, I don't like getting my food for free. I have a sense of pride like that. Unlike those other mystical beasts who do whatever they like. The fact that you know about mystical beasts means that you're not from here. You're from the icy tundra. The icy tundra out there this is the entrance. I guard it." As he says, "Well, why aren't you killing me now? Didn't I cross on the borders?" "Not as far as I can see. I'm sure the humans dropped you off here for you to be killed. Is that correct?" "Boy. I wish you to not call me boy, please." "You are a boy, as such you will be called a boy." "Fair enough, I guess. But still, I won't like it." "Fair enough. Well, to prove that you're not just a boy, get us food. I am currently injured." "TYR." As he's like, "How did you know that?" "Oh, please. I'm a dog. A wolf, to be more considered. A proud werewolf. One of Fenrir's design. How could I not acknowledge him? And the one whose hand he took. Looks like you got it back. Congratulations, you fucker. Don't worry. It's not like I worship him. Us werewolves, we're just part of his order. It's not like we have to abide by any rules. He's quite a chill guy, you understand, right? I know he's chill, but it's just the fact that he kills without recognition. He does what he has to do to survive. The people that he murdered, they were all there to kill him too. If he hadn't killed, he would have been killed on the spot. That doesn't justify him murdering everybody in his way. Does it? Whatever. As he starts to make his way outside the tent, as he says, "Is there anything you guys are allergic to?" As he's like, I sense that sarcasm. As he's like, I know. As he starts to exit the tent, he goes out to find food to earn his place inside of the den. As once he returns with polar bear meat and a scar on his right arm that jets down from the back all the way to the side to his hip. The young ones feast as they slowly grow in size as they start eating. As you know, the werewolf's quite impressed. Actually, this was a bountiful meat, especially dragging a polar bear all the way out here. You must possess extraordinary physical ability. Yes. Just eat up, all right, and the young ones too. As you know, he tosses the head to the young ones as they start eating and immediately growing super fast. As he mentions, what's up with that? As the werewolf starts to explain that the young ones, they're actually born from two different fantastical beasts. One from the mystical polar bear warrior tribe up creek. However, that's a different story from the war that has been beginning between them, the two of them. The child was sent here as sort of a peace symbol. However, they started attacking us for no exactly reason. As then he starts to explain that, well, that's actually his fault, and that his quirk is apparently to start war wherever he goes. As you know, the werewolf's like, oh no, as he's like, what? As it's like, you mean anywhere? Like they follow you? As he's like, I mean, it's just an aroma. As it's like, you know, the wolves can follow you with that, don't you? As he's like, oh fuck. And then he as it's like, I think you should accept your rewards for, you know, getting us meat first. As he's like, I really don't think that's important right now. As he starts to hear growling outside of the nest. As the werewolf, you know, tries to rustle through the sort of sack that it had going with it, as its back legs are still broken, Deku rushes out, finding a minefield of werewolves. Just hundreds upon hundreds. And in the back, polar bears. That was apparently a polar bear scout, and he had basically, you know, attracted all of them with the blood of it, plus the aroma coming off of him from the war. As, you know, he's like, oh fuck. As the werewolf hobbles out of the nest, it brings a greatsword and armor with it. One that was meant for a warrior. One that would unite the 4 tribes of the Great Mountain. The Great Mountain is the mountain that they're all standing upon right now. The Great Mountain was greatly referred to by all the humans as, you know, Death Mountain, a mountain that was controlled by warrior monster tribes, each of them led by a quirked monster that stemmed from ancient, you know, mythology. However, those started to dilute down into normal beings, particularly wolves, panthers, freaking polar bears, and what was the last one? I think it was something of the ocean. It was like sharks or something, but they died out. Other than that, basically the 2 greatest tribes, the polar bears and the wolves, suddenly started to have battles against each other for no exact reason. And now this kid says that he's the reason for all of it, but, you know, the greatest wolf of the wolf tribe is now being a coup d'etat, basically, by its own warriors for no exact reason. So many warriors had traveled many miles to try to fight the great tribes and remove them from the mountain for money. However, most of them had died in the fact. One leaving a gigantic greatsword bigger than Deku's own body, and a hunk of iron that nobody could wield. He had a particular strength quirk. However, this was perfect for TYR, as the werewolf looks kind of worriedly as it has the greatsword in its mouth and holds its mouth up, and then unhinges it as Deku picks it up from its mouth, as he kind of topples over a little bit, getting used to the sort of weight distribution on it, and it looks worried as he says, "Don't worry. Why do you think they call me TYR? I'm a god of war, after all. I should at least... Don't you think I've been wiping up after my scraps this whole time? Don't worry. This won't change anything." As he sets down the gigantic greatsword right next to himself, as he says, "What are you waiting for? You've been slobbering at the mouth since you got here." As all the wolf starts to bite and bark at each other as he starts to spread his aura even more upon them, and then suddenly he just charges straight at them as he creates a streak through the front lines to the left, and then another swipe to the right, sweeping through 10 of them in just one swing. Almost 10 minutes of this same exact maneuver done over and over again wipes out the whole entire tribe of warriors from the wolf side. Next is only the polar bears. there's a suspicious number of polar bears. Not one's, like, there's only 10 of them in a line. However, one blocks his greatsword as he tries to strike it. As he says, "What?" As then it punches him in the face, punting him across the ice. It chases him down as the rest of them wait in a line, almost like they're waiting for one person. However, Deku swiftly jabs his greatsword into the ice. As he flips it around before the warrior lands his punch, it arcs straight up into his hand as it chops straight down the middle of its arm. As it keeps on going until its momentum stops it's to its shoulder. As then he unhinges it from the ground and then kicks it into and arcs it straight towards the head of the polar bear. As then he kicks it the hilt in, chopping off the head. As he looks to the rest of them, spreading his aura, the last bit of it that he had. The rest of the polar bears left, feeling satisfied, as that was one of their greatest warriors. Deku takes a breath and then just almost falls to the ground as the wolf hobbles over to him and offers its head as a sort of resting measure. God damn it. As he kind of like falls down, and then it brings him over to the nest as he wakes up again, and the werewolf's cubs are around half, like almost around his waist. They grow very fast. Fantastical beasts. And Deku feeling around, it's like he doesn't feel his war banner anymore, like his war curse. Is the curse gone? As the werewolf is like, no, as you know, its legs seem to have healed from last time. As it's actually walking, he's like, how long was I out? It's like, well, after taking 3 shots to the stomach and 1 shot to the head from the polar bear, I would say that you were out for as long as you needed to be. Well, that was almost 3 months counting it. As he's like, 3 months? Yeah, the war stopped after you went to sleep. The polar bears say they don't even remember why the war happened. They just know that their friend died. However, there is an invader in this region. One that it suspiciously looks like one of your memories. As he's like, how do you know my older brother? As you know, Alawa? Oh, we all know of him now. After you've been whispering about him in your dreams, about how he gave you this sort of power to spread wars, it wasn't really given to you. It was forced upon you by your brother. That's actually his quirk. It was simply forced upon you when you were younger. No one would notice it because he kept it festering inside of you. Now that it explodes on this mountain exactly, well, you're gonna need to kill your older brother because he's causing all of these wars. Now it's between the sharks and the puma and the what were their names again? Nightshades. Let's just call them the Nightshades. That sounds cooler. The Panthers, right? And we don't want a bloodbath on our mountain anymore. Go and meet with like the warrior panda, the biggest out of all of the polar bears. As he starts making his way through the tundra once more, however, this time equipping all of the armor that he had missed out on from before, he makes his way up, sort of needing to use the greatsword as a cane by the halfway point because it's very heavy. He starts to just jab that into the ground, making sure that he can hobble faster. As he starts to make his way up the mountain, he faces many trials, including getting poisoned by a snake, falling into a quicksand, and also fighting off several pumas that were having a war, a small-ass war with other sharks, jumping in the water and shit like that. Sneak attacks are the only ways that the pumas can really get ahead of this, but thank God that's their like main thing that they usually do. So basically, Deku learned how to swim this time, and now has to talk with the sharks. However, they say that they they're constantly forced to do this sort of war thing for no exact reason. They can't remember why. Why does war always come to them? Why are they filled with such hate for no reason? As he sees one of them literally act out and start biting its friends, as he's like, what the hell is this? As he chops off its head without even a second thought. As the rest of them are like, you did what you had to do though, but he was cast out of the kingdom anyways because of killing people. Other than that, he makes his way up to the finally to the polar bears, who are actually living in the desert because of the wars, to try to gain their way away from whoever is causing all this. And they know it's his brother. So he comes up and says that he can fix all of this. As they're like, oh, really? As the gigantic polar bear tribes member, the gigantic one, he's as big as a 3-story building. He's as tall as that, and he's as maybe wide as, let's say, a car. 2 cars. 1.5 cars. And his feet are bigger than his whole body. Basically, Deku is going to be fucked if he gives up here. However, he bends his knee and holds up his greatsword and says, "Please, train me." As the polar bear's like, "What the fuck?" As all the polar bears are like, "What the hell?" As I think that's a good place to end off. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.